Ethical hacking. What is ethical hacking? Ethical hacking is hacking without any ill intent. Typically, the ethical hacker will have permission from the owner of the system being targeted beforehand. Ethical hacking is used as a preventative measure in cybersecurity by attacking a system to find its weaknesses and strengths, as well as any previous data breaches. For these attacks to be considered ethical, they must follow the local and national cyber laws, and any breaches of these laws would be considered illegal and hacking. The ethical hacker must always document all of their steps throughout the entire ethical hacking process. This can, and by the entire process, it means the entire process, because if you don't, and there is, like, you don't record something, could be used against you in any legal stuff later on. The importance of ethical hacking. Ethical hacking is extremely important as it helps us find any weaknesses in a system and allows us to strengthen those weaknesses before a hacker can find them. You can't be expected to build an impenetrable fortress on the first try, right? An ethical hacker will try everything from cracking passwords to interrupting data channels. An example of needing ethical hacking would be an online business that has customer databases. These databases will hold sensitive information, and let's say there's you get hacked and there's a data breach. You lose all of that information. Not only will the attackers have all that private information about your customers, it can include anything from credit card numbers to social security, names, addresses, everything. And if that happens, one, your reputation will be hurt, and you will probably have less customers because of that. And the biggest issue is you could be sued for not protecting the customer's data appropriately. So this is why ethical hacking is necessary, because without having proper protection on user data, it will come back to haunt you later. And then ethical hacking versus normal hacking. As mentioned before, ethical hacking is hacking without any ill intent. Intentions. Ethical hackers breach targeted systems to find any weaknesses to prevent attacks in the future, whereas hackers will target systems to steal and or ransom the data, or they'll just cause chaos. Chaos meaning installing viruses, malware, and DDoS attacks. Legality. Ethical hacking is legal if all cyber laws are followed and your steps are documented. And again, you have to document every step you take. And you also need the owner's permission, as in the owner of the system that you are targeting, before you do anything. And it must be written, because if it's just verbal, it becomes he said, she said in case of any legal disputes. Hacking is illegal. They never have permission from the owners of the system, and they definitely do not follow any laws. Compensation. Ethical hackers are employees of companies, or they work by themselves, but they are paid and they receive benefits. Hackers they'll either work alone, in a group, or they'll even be sponsored by a state. However, they will look for any ways to make money off of hacking, from data mining to selling your data, they can either sell it to people to use, or they will ransom your computer. Like, they'll take hold of your entire computer. You have to pay money to get access to it again. And there's 50-50 chance on whether they'll give you your stuff back or not, even if you do pay. And then they can even steal your credit card information. And I've had that happen before. Careers. Ethical hacking is a high-paying career in high demand, and you are protected by the laws if you follow them. Whereas normal hacking is they typically have no professional background, and there is a high risk of being apprehended by the authorities because, of course, it's illegal. Phases of ethical hacking. Ethical hacking has 5 phases: reconnaissance, scanning, gaining access, maintaining access, and clearing your tracks. The reconnaissance phase. The reconnaissance phase is when an ethical hacker will try to find any information on the targeted system before the attack. This process can be separated between 2 methods: active reconnaissance and passive reconnaissance. Active reconnaissance is searching for information about the targeted network system by connecting directly to the system itself. This process uses tools such as Nmap, Nessus, and Nikito to send varying requests to any computers on the targeted system to gain information about the system itself. This can allow the ethical hackers to find open ports, find exposed hosts, and even discover the OS of the targeted network. However, active reconnaissance is a lot riskier than passive reconnaissance, as there's a greater chance of being detected. However, with higher risk comes higher rewards. And the tools used in active reconnaissance are Nmap. Nmap is an open source port scanner and network mapper that makes use of ping sweeps across the network that you're targeting. Nessus is like a paid version of Nmap. It provides more detailed reports on the targeted network, which is a lot better than Nmap. However, Nmap's free. And then Nikito. Nikito is a command line scanner that searches web servers for any vulnerabilities. Passive reconnaissance is the stealthier approach. This is when ethical hackers search for information about the targeted network without connecting to the targeted system. Typically, ethical hackers will gather what information they can from any publicly available information on the targeted system, people associated with the targeted system, or any other important information. This can be done via social engineering or even dumpster diving, which is considered offline reconnaissance. Other methods include using online tools such as Shodan or Netcraft. And on the topic of dumpster diving, typically they will search for sticky notes with passwords or something like that. The passive tools used could be Netcraft, which is a search tool used to find any information related to the targeted network, from domain names to the owner of the network. And an extremely popular one is Shodan. It will find any Internet of Things devices on the targeted network, and it will report anything about these devices, from open ports to any other exploitable vulnerabilities. Another passive reconnaissance that I didn't list is just a simple Google search. You can do a custom Google search and find information that way. The scanning phase. Once reconnaissance has been completed, the scanning phase begins. During this phase, the testers will create an overview of the targeted network, which includes the designated IP address and any active devices on the network. There are 3 different scans that can be used during this phase: port scans, vulnerability scans, and network mapping. Port scanning is similar to active reconnaissance as it scans the targeted network for any open ports, active devices, and active applications on the network. Vulnerability scanning is mostly automated. It can be manual, but they have actual tools that are automated to do this. And it will scan for all active devices on the network and any vulnerabilities that can be exploited. Network mapping helps ethical hackers create a more detailed diagram of the targeted network by finding and documenting any entities connected to the network. Network mapping will find any routers, firewalls, servers, and computers on the targeted network. The gaining access phase. Gaining access to the targeted system is the most important step for ethical hackers. This phase is when they do the actual hacking. By using all of the information that they have gained from both the reconnaissance and the scanning phase, they will launch an all-out attack on the targeted system to gain administrative access onto the network. The ethical hacker will do this over the network, through an application, or even through a device physically connected to the network. This process can use many tools and techniques, which can include phishing attacks, exploitation of any vulnerabilities found, injection attacks, password cracking, and many more. Maintaining access phase. Once the ethical hacker has accessed the system, they can perform even larger attacks such as DDoS, corrupting the entire network, or even planting viruses. Now that the ethical hacker is done, they need to be able to easily gain access to the network again. This is done via a backdoor, and without one, they might have to repeat the entire process again for future attacks, or if they lose access to the system during the attack, like in case the security team manages to stop them. They'll need a backdoor, or else they have to restart the whole process again. Ethical hackers can create a backdoor on the targeted system using tools such as rootkits or Trojans. Clearing tracks phase. This is the final phase of the ethical hacking process. This phase is when the ethical hacker will use the time to remove any evidence of their presence or any evidence that there was an attack to begin with. Best case scenario, they think something happened and not an attack, like system just shut down randomly. This can be done by clearing and or corrupting any of the logs, altering registry values, removing any strips or folders that you used and or created during the attack, and any other traces of the attacker on the targeted system. And any breadcrumbs or evidence left over could result in the attacker being discovered. And this is worst case scenario. The attack completion. The attack has been completed. The backdoors have been created if necessary, and all evidence has been deleted. Best case scenario, there is no evidence left. The ethical hacker will then create a report based on their attack and documentation of the attack. It is important that the that the ethical hacker documents everything they do to avoid any legal problems down the road, and to create an accurate report for the owner of the targeted system. The ethical hacker will recommend to the owner of the targeted system on what steps they should take to better protect their network. This can help the owner of the system prevent future attacks, make it harder for any attacks to happen, and can help protect their data. Conclusion. Ethical hacking is a long and tedious process. It takes a lot of knowledge of computer systems and system penetration to perform the task well. Professionals in this field need to have extensive training and knowledge in this field, as well as certification, as sensitive information will need to be handled. They must always stay up to date on the latest information and techniques in the field, as the field is changing every week. Thank you for watching.